Hey everyone, back for another review. Today I just saw an anime, like I said yesterday, and it was a Fathom event I just came from, and I'm talking about Made in Abyss, Journey Dawn.
Be what you wanna be. See what you came to see.
Made in Abyss is a Japanese anime. I saw the English version of it. I saw the dub. It's the story about two characters, one named Rico, the other one named Reg, and what they do is it's a story about a girl who finds this robot while searching in the abyss, which is this big crater in the middle of the country that a town has been erected around, and it goes deeper. And inside the abyss, there are various technology that no one knows how got there, animals that no one knows how they survived down there, and the whole society looks like it's traveled around these people called raiders. And the girl happens to be someone who is going to explore to get her mom, who's stuck in the abyss because she is one of the raiders, and the boy Reg travels with her, but it seems to be like a cyborg, and he's going along, but he has no memory of what's going on. And they go on this adventure to find her mom and to figure out what's at the bottom of the abyss. This movie's I have very mixed feelings about this movie. Let's go with what I did like about it first. I really like the two characters. I like the interactions between Rico and Reg. They were really fun. I like both characters. I could have swore the guy who voices Reg is also the guy who voices Kenichi from Metropolis, but I didn't confirm that. I thought both of them had really good chemistry together. I thought the artwork in this movie was really good. I think they did a better job in implementing the 2D with the 3D. Like, the 3D didn't stand out. Like, one of the things that I like about Futurama is that the 3D, they kind of dumbed down the 3D so it doesn't stand out as much. And this movie did it. There was a couple of times where you can completely tell that the object you were looking at in 3D, but for the most part it looks like it was cell drawn, since no one really does, or they draw on the pads, since no one does hand drawn anymore, unfortunately. I like the idea of the abyss, and that every level you go down, it's kind of like Dante's Inferno a little bit. Every level you go down, every level is a little bit different, but also it has a different sickness to it. Like, in one you'll get like diarrhea and start vomiting. One you start getting delusions, things like that. It was really good. I like the world. The world was actually, I haven't really seen anything like this. The whole town was this is almost like if you've ever seen Final Fantasy Spirits Within, where a meteor hits the ground, but this one is just like the world happened to split open at the bottom, or in the middle of the earth, and it just goes down, and they go through it, and there happens to be monsters and things like that. So I really like the world building. I like the way everything looks and set up. So that was pretty cool. I like some of the action beats in it. I really like Reg's powers, and how, because seeing something like Captain Marvel, where it felt dragged out that they had to explain her backstory, Reg's backstory kind of takes a back seat. Like, it's not super important that he remembers who he is. The plot doesn't necessitate it. The plot's more about Rico and her finding her mom, and little tidbits you find out throughout the movie about her mom and about her and herself. There are a couple of interesting reveals about her past, especially later in the second half of the movie. This movie is clearly set up though into two halves, so much so that at the end of the about hour mark, I was really waiting for credits to start rolling and it to say at the bottom, you know, stay tuned for the second act. Because there is such a clear divide line. And this is where I'm going to have to get into the bad part of what this movie is. Movie is very clearly, distinctly two different movies that were put together. The first half of the movie is about her finding Reg and her explaining to him how the world works and their whole how the Raider society works and how it compares to the abyss below them, and all about him learning how this system works. And then the second half is the adventure half. So much so that literally when they start on the adventure in the abyss, there is narration to tell you now the adventure begins, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not. The second half, when they're on the adventure, feels so slow. The whole movie kind of feels slow. It's like you could either had a montage to hurry things up, or maybe have a little bit less explaining and have just the world tell you the explanation. So that was one of the things I didn't like about it. The adventure part, there's almost no adventure. It's just like, and a lot of their problems solved so quickly because of the fact that Reg is cybernetic, and he can stretch out his arms, and when called upon he has another power. So a lot of it is just like them walking around through pretty scenery. It almost feels like watching the beginning of The Hobbit, but The Hobbit, or the first Fellowship of the Ring, but that one, like, it was building up tension and character. Here it was a lot of explaining the world, like, and explaining things that the characters should know about each other. You know, it was explanation so that the audience knows. That's what it was. I was a little bit angry when a certain character shows up near the end in the third act, because she does some good reveals, but then they pull back on her, and I kind of found that disappointing, and they really didn't give a good explanation why. I mean, they do explain why, but it didn't feel like satisfying enough. I like the fact, go back to the likes, I like the fact that the backstory wasn't 100% necessary, but they had flashbacks to fill in the characters' gaps, to let us know what was really going on between characters or what happened before that led to where we were at. I thought that was pretty cool. I love the class system. Everyone has a different whistle, and that kind of represents what type of class you are. There are the red whistles, which are the apprentices. There's the white whistles, who are the elite. And then there's blues, and there's a couple other ones. But there was one thing I never got about it, is they didn't really properly explain why you're not supposed to use them. There's a couple of times where there's only really one time it's used at the beginning of the movie, and right after that, a character explains to us that the minute you blow your whistle, you're gonna die. I wish that was explained a little bit better on how the whistles work, and when you're supposed to and when you're not supposed to use them. There is a interesting fight scene near the end of the movie that was really cool between two characters. Some of the reveals at the end, they're like, wow, that was pretty good. I wish we'd have got there faster. Also, this is in the bad section. I don't know how I feel about the ending. There is a part 2, and this movie 100%, like, when it ends, you kind of go, okay, the adventure is going to start, and then it ends, and you see you later, see you in part 2. Even though I knew it was going to end, I wanted it to end, because the movie dragged in a lot. It was just a lot of explaining and talking. While there was some funny dialogue, especially when talking about Reg. It didn't help the movie in not feeling its length. It's about 2 hours, and it felt it. Because there was so little action, especially once you get to the adventure, you're thinking these people are gonna, especially knowing the fact that there's monsters out there, all these different creatures. You know, they're supposedly on the run because of something, but none of it happens. Like, there's one basic scene with one fight scene, then there's one scene where a character goes, "I found you," and then that was pretty much it. The rest of it is just them walking. So I didn't hate the movie. I was kind of like going in and out of it at times. There is a good time to be had though once you get to certain elements of the movie, but it needed to be tighter, and it wasn't. It needed to be tighter and concise. And I'm not gonna take any points off for the way it ended on a cliffhanger of saying, "Oh, let's see the real adventure." I'm not. It didn't frustrate me, because by the time it got there, I was just like, okay, end, so I can leave. I need some air. But it did drag to get there. So for Made in Abyss, I'm gonna give it a 5. I think it's fine. I do want to see where it goes, because they set up a lot of things in this movie about the characters. I'm kind of was annoyed that Reg had to take a backseat for kind of no reason to Rico, but Rico was a fun enough character where I didn't hate her. I was like, wait, why are you guys putting him in the backseat? She's not that interesting. But she was a fun character. So yeah, that's my review of Made in Abyss, Journey Dawn. Did you see this movie? Did you see it subtitled? I know there's a TV, I think a 13 episode TV series. I might check it out. But let me know what you thought in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and hopefully later this week I'll be doing Dumbo, and I'm gonna start trying to do more anime now. So bye.